Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thank you all for joining. All right, I am excited to welcome John to the show. Welcome.
Hello, thank you, Kyra, for having me. It's awesome to be here. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we get started by having you tell the audience listening or watching who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I'm John Diggs. That's Diggs, as in can you dig it? And I do several things. My main thing is they call me a Mappineering Mentor, which is basically just helping people use the powerful tool of mind maps to love their life more. Yeah, and I'm
Awesome.
excited to tell everybody about
Yes,
it.
I can't wait because I do love a good mind map. So when I saw you and I was like, oh yeah, we gotta have this discussion.
Nice,
So,
nice.
well, let's start. Let's talk about what inspired you to start using mind maps and how have they personally impacted your life and the work that you do.
Yeah, for sure. Just a little story. Born and raised in LA, fell in love with the game of football, went
Mhm.
on to play some college and some pro ball, retired early with two screws in my right knee, which got me in the real estate game in Southern California. From there, I went on to build one of the largest mortgage brokerages in all of Southern California in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
living a great life, actually making more money than I ever did as a professional football player, as a businessman. And I mean, I had the big house, cars, and all of the, millionaire lifestyle, if you will. And when the mortgage meltdown happened in 2007, which led to the Great Recession, I literally lost everything. Everything. I mean, not just my business, but houses, cars. I even lost my wife and kids at the time. So I was forced to basically move back into my mother's house. And when I went back to my mom's, all I had what took with me was my mountain bike, gym bag full of gym clothes to work out, and this box full of motivational books and CDs and things of that nature that I've accumulated over the years. And inside that box was this book called the Mind Map book by Tony Buzan. And I don't remember ever buying it. Somebody must have given it to me or something, but whatever reason, it just resonated with me at this point. So I read it and decided to mind map all of the books and things that were in that box, which was my first real introduction to the power of mind mapping. Because I literally spent like 3, 4 months just mind mapping just books all day, every day. And by the way, this was did a TEDx talk a couple years ago, and it really kind of goes into what I'm highlighting now. So if anybody really wants to learn more and how mind mapping really transformed my life, I would suggest watching that TEDx. It's to kind of go into it pretty well. But just this long and the skinny of it, that mind mapping essentially caused me to transform my life in less than 8 months for what it did to me and the things that I've learned from it. That I went from literally homeless at my mother's house to making a solid 6 figure income in less than 8 months. And it was all because of what mind mapping enabled me to do. Since then, 2009, this was 2009. Since then, mind mapping has allowed me to now own and operate one of the country's largest mortgage software development companies. I build the infrastructure for mortgage banks, and it's mind mapping has allowed me to travel the world. I'm also a social dancer, so I been traveling with my kids and salsa dancing and things of that nature. And when the pandemic hit and we were
Mhm.
quarantined, I decided that it was time for me to share this mind mapping message. So
Mhm.
since the pandemic, I wrote 10 books, all on various ways to mind map. I became an international best-selling author. I did that TEDx talk. I
Mhm.
have some online community now that's been pretty thriving all around mind mapping, and got online courses. I do keynotes and workshops and things of that nature just to really lead my passion now. I'm just passionate about helping people love and live their best lives utilizing this
Mhm.
powerful tool called a mind map.
Oh wow, that's very inspiring.
Yeah,
Taking
thank
this
you. Thank
from,
you.
yeah, it's amazing how you came to the tool. And I know you gave us an abbreviated version, so definitely
Yes.
check out
Yes.
the TEDx talk, everyone, so you
Right.
can get the full story. But it's really amazing to hear like how you started with it and
Mm-hmm.
then how you used to rebuild.
Right.
And the great thing about it is that you're not keeping it to yourself. You are sharing this tool with the world.
This is my divine mission. This is my life's purpose from here on out, is just to really help people. Just a firm believer in it, and for what it's done in my life and what it's been doing for my students and my clients and stuff
Mhm.
lives, I really am passionate about sharing the power of what it is. And for those who aren't familiar with a mind map or never really heard of it, A mind map is essentially what I call a visual information management tool. In other words, it can take anything that you're thinking about in your mind, problems, decisions, goal setting, stuff in your past, anything you got swirling on your mind. A mind map is the perfect tool to get it out of your mind so you can see it in some kind of structure, so
Mhm,
you can gain greater perspective, greater understanding, clarity on what it is you got swirling in your mind.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so it's been a powerful tool. And I know a lot of people, not just with mental health challenges, but stress issues,
mhm.
life issues, and dealing
Yeah.
with various problems. I just see this tool being as a game changer to give people that power, which is why it's my passionate mission.
Yeah. No, I love that because you actually answered my next question around like why you think it's such a powerful tool. And I love that
Mhm.
you said like one of the things is like it can help people with clarity. It can help you to problem solve. And I think a lot of times people don't think about using a tool to problem solve. Like a lot of times people just go straight to like, oh, let me talk it out with someone. And mind mapping that like it allows for you to see all the arms and legs of something. And you just
Yep.
sort of keep building and building and building onto
And
it.
how it all connects. Yeah,
Yeah,
how,
yeah.
everything connects. And there's a couple other things that I've learned over the years that mind mapping does that's worth sharing. It's very powerful. And that, first of all, it's called active learning.
Hmm.
Active learning is something, because when I was going through and mind mapping all of those books, by nature of mind mapping using keywords primarily only for mind maps, that's what's recommended. You don't write paragraphs, you just find keywords that you can place on your mind map, that when you're reading a book in mind mapping, you're actually hunting for the right keyword out of that
Hmm.
paragraph or chapter that you can add to your mind map. So you're
Right.
more engaged. That's why they call it
Hmm.
more active learning versus just passively
Hmm.
just reading something and hope you remember it. And
Yeah.
another thing, yeah, then another thing is whole brain thinking. It stimulates whole brain thinking. And, there's this science that talks about, left brain people, right brain people.
Hmm.
Left brain people are more critical thinking, process oriented kind of folks. Right brain people are more creative, intuitive, and free flowing kind of folks. And we prefer to use one side or the other, over our lives, just like our rights and left hands kind of deal. And when you go to mind map, it stimulates both hands. So you're now
Hmm.
stimulating your whole mind. It does the
Hmm.
left brain activity because you're hunting for that right word,
Hmm.
keyword to add. Then it stimulates the right brain because you got trying to figure out where to put it on your mind map. And if you want to
Hmm.
use a color or some kind of symbol or emoji or something to stand out on your mind map. So then it also is meaningful learning. Is
Hmm.
very powerful. And meaningful learning is just taking new knowledge and connecting it to old knowledge to
Right.
really understand something.
Hmm.
I say a lot of people, we're taught to collect dots. We got to try to
Right.
remember things like
Yeah.
collecting dots, where
Hmm.
mind mapping helps you connect dots, where you really start to understand, how this actually connects to that and how this connects
Hmm.
to that, and which deepens your understanding of whatever it is you're trying to learn. So those are some very powerful pieces that
Yeah.
I'm finding that mind mapping also helps with people in their
Yeah.
thinking, cognitive
Hmm.
processing, and things of that nature.
I'm really glad you explained it that way and you talked about people that use the left and right brain because I think yeah a lot of times we're like people want you to be forced to what side are you? Are
Yeah,
you
right.
a right brain? And but like I feel like I'm a person who utilizes both.
Yeah,
So it's like yeah I'm like yeah I'm process oriented but I'm also creative. And so
right.
this is a great tool that helps you to stimulate the whole brain.
Yeah,
So yeah, it feels like people, yeah, it feels like a great tool that not a lot of people use regularly.
right. And it's not well known, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's my mission, is to make it more known. The inventor of this term mind mapping, Tony Buzan, which was this English educator back in England, in Britain back in the 70s. He was teaching a bunch of his students and decided to do some research to see if there was a better way for him to teach his students. So he started analyzing the notes of Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas
Mm,
Edison, Einstein, and he saw in their notes that they didn't use the bullet point list like we use when they was taking their
Mm-hmm.
notes. They used a bunch of diagrams, symbols, and words and all of this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That began his understanding of mind mapping and his development of it. And he pretty much did a lot of spreading of it in Europe and parts of Asia, and it hasn't really got to our country yet. And unfortunately, he died in 2018. So that kind of stopped, any
Mm-hmm.
kind of promotion he was doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
those of us in the US that have heard of it and use
Mm-hmm.
mind mapping, they pretty much use it in three ways. They use it either for brainstorming
Mm-hmm.
ideas,
Yeah.
they'll use it for like note taking,
Mm-hmm.
just to take notes like I did with my book stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
pretty much all 500 Fortune 500 companies are using it for project management, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just a great tool to be able to see how everything in that project connects, who's delegating, who's up what, and milestones of your project and all that stuff. So that's why it hasn't really been known yet, because it's pretty much in certain areas.
Yeah, it's kind of like siloed in, like you said, into more
Right.
of a business, more like in the corporate world, because like I've
Exactly.
used it in all three of those, and all three of
Manners.
those in the corporate world. So, but I think what's great is we have people like you
Right.
who are introducing it and introducing people to it, because it can be just so useful in your everyday journey. And
Exactly.
as you call it, you've concepted Mappineering, which I absolutely love. I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what led for you? What inspired you to actually create the concept of Mappineering? And how has it continued to transform in your own life?
Yeah, great question. Well, um, when I fell in love with mind mapping and started doing mind mapping, it was just a personal tool that I was using for my personal development,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much just to maximize my own function. I wasn't using it so much in business or corporate life kind of deal. It was just a tool that I just leaned on when I needed clarity for personal stuff. And as I started getting more involved with sharing the mind mapping message, I come to realize that I am the only one in the world that I know of that's been teaching it and promoting it and doing courses on it, using it strictly as a personal development tool, as a tool for peak performance, optimal living, and things of that nature. So I wanted to kind of find a way to distinguish that traditional style, brainstorming, note taking, project management, versus
Mm-hmm.
my approach, where people can use it, for problem solving, decision making, and things of that, goal setting, things of that nature. And
Mm-hmm.
by the way, that brings me something that you said earlier as far as how to use it like for problem solving. And one of the key tools that I teach in the Mappineering practice is to use what is called a 5 W's plus 1 H mind map for problem solving. Nothing better to deal with a problem or make a decision than to use a 5 W's plus 1 H mind map, for real. And I'll just explain to you really quick. Say you got a
Yeah.
problem that you're dealing with. You can take a blank piece of paper or use some kind of online, mind mapping software or something of that nature. But in the middle, your main topic is the name of your problem. Just title
Mm-hmm.
it a problem, whatever you want to title it, husband issues or job issues or whatever that may be. Just put it right in the
Mm-hmm.
middle. Then, right when you put that in the middle, the subtopics around that are who, what, where, when, why, and how. The 5 W's plus 1 H. Now
Mm-hmm.
you brainstorm, start with the who. And now you just ask yourself a bunch of who questions about that problem. Who's involved with the problem? Who can help me solve this problem? Who should be involved? Who shouldn't be involved with this problem? So once you get clear with all of the who questions that you can ask about that problem, then you
Mm-hmm.
move down to the what. What is the problem? What's really happening? What should be happening? What is not happening? Then once you finish that, you move down to the when. When is this problem happening? When should it be happening? When should I look to resolve this problem? Then
Mm-hmm.
once you do that, you move to the where and you brainstorm on your mind map all of the where questions you can think of. Where is this problem happening? Where should I go to resolve it? Things of that nature. Then you go to why, ask you some why
Mm-hmm.
questions. Why is it happening? And then you go to how should I fix it? And once you brainstorm all of those 5 W's
Mm-hmm.
and H's, now you can step back and look at your mind map. Always, yes, always. I've been doing this a long time. The solution to your problem reveals itself. It illuminates
Mm-hmm.
how you should do it, because now you got so much greater perspective of your problem that you didn't have when it was here. Now
Mm-hmm.
you can see all the particulars of the problem to really come up with a really informed, confident decision on your next best step to resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing
It,
working with some of my clients, just really
mm,
quick, working with some of my clients. I was just working with a student athlete just earlier this week, and they come to me and they're just, the problem's intense. The problem is
mm,
swirling in their head, it's overloading, it's overwhelming, and this, that, and the other. Then when I take them through this process, you can
mm-hmm.
literally see their energy just, because
Right.
now it's not stuck in here. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's out there. So it's not first person anymore. It's now they're looking at it as a third person position, which
Mm-hmm.
calms them, which relaxes them, and now opens their mind up to see the solution to the problem, which is just another benefit on why you
Mm-hmm.
should be mappineering, a 5 W's plus 1 H for problems, decisions. You can put a decision in the middle: who, what, where, when, why, and how. It's just a good tool that I recommend that you and your audience can do just right away with a piece of napkin, piece of paper. If
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a problem or a decision, just do a 5 W's plus 1 H, and it's going to help you in some way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think too, like, it's really a really good way to start a process yourself,
Mhm.
without people, because I think a lot of times people just go to other people.
Right.
I've got a problem.
Yeah.
Help me solve
Help.
it. And it's
Help.
like to be able to look at it yourself objectively, once
Hmm.
you can see all the things. As you were talking, I could see, I was literally drawing it in my head as you were going
Hmm.
through it. And I'm like, how cool is it to see it? Like you said, and you're probably looking at the resolution.
Yeah.
Um,
Or at least when you go to talk somebody, you can be more clear on your problem to
yes.
get better advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Because,
know,
yeah, and you're
I,
not just dumping, because
yeah, you're not
usually,
just venting and just
yeah.
unloading on them. You're just like, hey, man, these are the key components of my problem. I kind of mapped it out. What are your thoughts? Kind of deal.
Exactly.
Or even
Yeah.
better yet, you can just share the mind map with them.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just like, hey,
No,
man, do you see anything different than I see?
yeah. Right. I think that's a
Mhm.
really great approach, because a lot of people look to become better problem solvers,
Right.
or also better decision, or let me say, not that you aren't good at making decisions, but faster, coming to
Yeah.
a faster decision.
Yeah.
Because when you think about life, like whether it's a personal situation or if you're on a job, I can imagine too, like this could be very helpful for people in their
Mhm.
like everyday work life, because so many people struggle with decision making, and then
Exactly.
they're like, oh, what should I do? And it's like, before you go ask your manager,
Right.
take the mind map to your manager and say, this is what I've workshopped. And
Your
I,
manager would be so impressed.
right, yes, as I'm thinking right now, as a manager of a lot of people, that I would be so impressed if somebody on my team came to me and said, Kyra, let me show you.
Yeah.
And then it's easy for me to see, like, oh, I get it. You thought this way, and this is the recommendation. Okay, I'm on board with that. Versus like every time, sort of you having to. I'm actually taking that note for myself, because I'm gonna bring that to my team.
Yeah, and if you need help with training or anything, I can walk right through them and show them how to efficiently do them and supply them with some great questions for problems, decisions, goal setting, even visualization stuff I've done work with,
Hmm.
with the same kind of process. So it's a very powerful, simple, yet
Yes.
very powerful approach to everyday situations that we find ourselves in life.
Hmm.
That again, my passion and my goal is to share it with as many people to try to help people stop drinking for all the wrong reasons,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like, save that one for another day.
yeah. But you know what I mean? Just not
Yeah.
not dealing with stress properly, and not dealing
Right.
with, you
Yeah,
know,
it's like anxiety and stress. Like when you mentioned the student athlete, like could
mhm,
imagine already being a student athlete carries a lot of stress, but
mhm.
then there's an anxiety that comes with it, especially if they're a student athlete who wants to go to the next level.
Yeah,
So you're just thinking, yeah, like let me help you release that by giving you this tool. And that's
yep,
what you've done. So I can only imagine, especially as a young person, I think like as a younger person, like it's an amazing tool to
yeah.
have, and a great skill set to be able to take, no matter what your job is, to
No
be
matter
able to
what.
take that to your place of like work or whatever it is you do every day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in your life, just gives you a sense of calm and peace to
Mhm.
know that you're properly processing something in your life.
Yes. Yep.
You're at a fork in the road,
Hmm.
at dealing with something in your life, which we always are dealing with in life almost
Yeah.
daily, some kind
Yep.
of decision you got to make. And
Hmm.
having a tool that you can quickly utilize to
Yeah.
give you the comfort and confidence
Hmm.
that you've thought about it well enough that you're not going to be regretful later, like, damn,
Yes.
what?
Yeah, I should have thought about that. And you said something that's a really important that I think a lot of people miss. It is processing. Being able to process things. Like I tell people all the time, say if I'm in the workplace, I'm in a meeting, I'm like, I never feel like forced to speak
Mhm.
right after someone said, I'm like, I'm a processor. I have to
Yeah.
process the information that has been presented to me so
Yeah.
that I can give you the best next step for me or my team or whatever it is we're doing. And some
Mhm.
people never process. They're just
Yeah.
they don't even actively listen. Like
No.
that's one of the things that I always tell people. I'm like, I'm an active listener first. Like I'm
Mhm.
hearing you, trying to like process what you said
Yep.
before I respond. But
That's
some people
smart.
are like, you're talking, and I'm like, "Well, let me tell you that."
No, they're not listening. They're just waiting to grab the mic, kind of,
Yes.
So, it's funny. My dad used to always tell me, he said, son, God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason, you know. So you should listen twice as much as you talk. Yeah. So yeah, I take that to heart. But there's one thing that I think is also worth noting is that out of all of the possible mind maps, the thousands and thousands of possible mind maps that people can make, from if you're a third grader all the way up to CEOs. I mean, there's so many different things, mind maps you can mind map for. Over my 15 years of just living this world, there's one that is more important than anything in all of the mind maps that I've ever came across. And that's one that's called the I am mind map. It's called
Yes.
an I am mind map. And that was the first, back in my story when I was first, at my mom's and sorting my
Hmm.
life out, those first 4 months I spent inside of that box, trying to reset myself. And I came away with those two powerful distinctions in that process is that all of those leaders, Les Brown, Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, Eckhart Tolle,
Hmm.
all of these guys, they were all saying one thing really is that life is meant to be loved. They all
Hmm.
had their different philosophies and perspectives on how to do it, but that was their
Hmm.
overall connection that mind map helped me see is that life is meant to be loved. That is the purpose of life, is just to love it. Every
Hmm.
second you got of it is to love it. And the second thing I took out of that is that I'm in control of my experience of life. We are
Hmm.
controlled on how we spend our lives. So life is meant to be loved, and we're the one that's responsible for loving it or
Hmm.
determining what it means. So that next 4 months, which were more important than those first 4 months at my mom's house, I spent literally every day developing what is now known as an I am mind map, of just mapping
Yes.
out who I am, what's
Hmm.
most important to me in my life, my core values, my beliefs, my goals. I
Hmm.
spent literally all day, every day for 4 months developing this thing called an I am mind map, which is now became like my flagship kind of program now, because I
Yes.
truly believe that, everyone should do an I am mind map to really get clear
Hmm.
on who they are and what their lives about,
Hmm.
because that will ultimately affect their decisions, how they deal with problems, their goals. I mean, everything. Once you get that real clarity, and I
Yeah.
find, Kyrie, that most people never really just sat down and consciously made that conscious
Right.
choice on who they are.
Hmm.
Most of us
Hmm.
just kind of think who we
Hmm.
are, our titles,
Hmm.
what we do for a living, but to really
Yes.
get to a core level of this is who I
Hmm.
am. And that mind map, just quickly, it looks like it's I am in the center.
Hmm.
Then when I was asking myself back then, I was like, well, what's truly most important to me in my life? What is
Hmm.
really the most important thing in my life?
Hmm.
And after hours, days, and weeks, I landed on health. There's nothing more important than my health.
Right. Hmm.
So I put that on my I am mind map. Then I asked myself again, what else is most important to me in my life? And after a bunch of thinking, I landed on wealth. I wanted an abundance of stuff in my
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
Then after thinking, I landed on success. I wanted to
Mhm.
have some success in my life. Then I also landed on happiness. I definitely
Mhm.
want to be happy. So those ultimately are the core four anchors of the I am system: is I am healthy, I am wealthy, I'm successful, and I'm happy.
Mhm.
And as mind maps work, once you have it at a certain level, you naturally want to start to drill down into,
Right.
start building it
Mhm.
out. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I thought to myself, as health is just too general. What really does that
Right.
mean?
What does that mean for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Then I
Yeah.
came up to mean that it was spiritual health,
Mhm.
physical health, and mental health. Those
Mhm.
are the three subtopics of my health mind map. I
Mhm.
am healthy
Mhm.
spiritually, physically, and mentally.
Mhm.
Then when I looked at wealth, I realized that wealth really means an abundance of something. And I said, for me to be happy, what would I like a lot of? What do I need a
Right.
lot of outside of
Uh-huh.
money? What else would I want a lot of? Then I
Right.
landed on positive emotions,
Mhm.
positive feelings, specialized knowledge,
Mhm.
skills,
Mhm.
then freedom. I wanted to be
Mhm.
free, which includes
Mhm.
financial freedom. But I
Right.
also
Right.
realized that freedom also include stress freedom and time
Mhm.
freedom, as I kept
Yes.
building it out, right?
Yes.
Then I moved over to success. What do I want to be successful in or at? Then I landed on relationships.
Mhm.
I want to have successful relationships. I want to have successful results. Then I
Mhm.
also want to have successful rewards, and how I celebrate those results.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then I looked at happiness and I was like, well, what does happiness mean? What needs to happen for me to truly be happy?
Mhm.
And after thinking about that, I landed on that I need to feel blessed for my
Mhm.
past.
Mhm.
Everything that's happened in the past, I need to feel blessed for the good and the bads.
Right.
You know, I survived the bads. I
Mhm.
should be
Yep.
blessed that I survived the bads.
Yep.
I've learned and grown from the bads, so
Right.
I need to be blessed for that. While at the
Mhm.
same time, I need to feel grateful for the future,
Mhm.
excited about what's happening with
Mhm.
optimism, enthusiasm about what's coming. If I
Mhm.
can be blessed for my past, grateful for my future in the
Mhm.
present moment, right now,
Mhm.
I'll be happy.
Mm.
So I put that on my mind map,
Yeah.
blessed, grateful, and fulfilled in the present.
Mhm.
And ever since 2009, 2010, I've been looking at this mind map almost
Mhm.
every day,
Mhm.
developing it, come up with strategies, come up with tools as I've been thrown curveballs in my life, which I have. That mind map has always been like my compass, my
Mhm.
GPS on how to
Mhm.
navigate through the storm, if you will. It
Right.
serves as my like personal constitution,
Mhm.
my commandments.
Mhm.
It's just everything that whatever's happening in my life,
Mhm.
that I'm struggling with or having challenges with. I know I can
Right.
go to my mind map to reset me on who I am and
Mhm.
who I'm intending to be in my life, which kind of helps me efficiently work through
Right.
life
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it's
Mhm.
really helped me do a lot of great things that I can only imagine so many of my brothers, my sisters, my family, friends, and people that I haven't necessarily connected with yet, that are going through something,
Mhm.
that this I am tool can empower them to make not just good decisions and deal with it, but to
Mhm.
connect to themselves in such a way that
Yes.
they have some personal power, they have some
Mhm.
inspiration, they have some
Mhm.
strength, some
Yeah.
hope,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
get through what they're going through. And that is just, I'm so jazzed on it and passionate about it,
Mhm.
and which is why I'm
Mhm.
so grateful for you to have me here so I can keep sharing my message. Thank you again.
Well, it's an amazing tool, and I love it because it gives people a space to discover themselves.
Yes.
And there's a vulnerability about discovering like who you are and what matters to you, what's
Mhm.
important. And I first of all I want to say thank you for really like walking through each of the anchors,
Oh
because
yeah.
I think that's so important, because people who are listening, I'm sure there's somebody listening or watching who is like they're like just starting to chart theirs.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
very
hope
like
so.
like I was listening, I'm watching you, but I was also just like seeing that like play, you
Mhm.
know, as you mapped it out. But I think it just is such, it's so real.
Yeah,
Like that's just the thing. It's like it's such a real, like authentic tool that you can use and it can change. It can evolve with you.
it
As
will.
yes, as you
It
grow,
will.
it can grow with you. But like you said, it's like this compass of this place that you always, it's like home. You
Yeah.
always go back to it and
Mhm.
you can say, now let me make sure I'm on the right path.
Right.
Because we all,
Right.
we're human, so we all sometimes veer to the right when we need to
Mhm.
be going straight to the left.
Yep.
And it's just a place for you to all that always keeps you honest.
Yeah, and maybe like you said, you can look at it. I've looked at mine a bunch of times and said, you know what, I'm not spending enough time in this area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was been spending, you know, some focus on this part of my mind map, but I see that my relationships, the intention that I have to have successful relationship
Mm-hmm.
is I need more, put more attention into that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what are some of the things that I can do? You know, and things of that nature. And it's so funny, you know, my 16-year-old, you know, I have, you know, all my girls, you know, have built their own I am mind maps, especially my
Mm-hmm.
16-year-old. And it was so amazing that, you know, she's in high school now and she was talking about this boy that, you know, this name Vince or something. And every day picking her up from school, she's just nonstop talking about this boy. And I'm like, yada, 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 I don't want to hear it. But it was so amazing that a week or so went by and I didn't hear this boy's name. You know, so I asked her, I said, hey, what's going on with you and Vince? You know, I haven't heard you mention him. She said, oh, Dad, I ended it with him. I was like, really? I said, why? She was like, he didn't fit on my I am mind.
Okay.
I was like, yes, yes. But that's just an example of the
Mhm.
clarity
Mhm.
that an I am mind map can give people
Mhm.
to realize that, wait a minute, you know, this relationship is not working, or this job is not
Right.
working, or me
Mhm.
efforting towards this goal. You know, and so
Right.
many of us work towards goals to reach the goal and still not be fulfilled because it wasn't a
Yes.
goal that was on your mind, I am mind map.
Mhm.
You know, so
Mhm.
that's another key point, you know, for
Yeah.
people is, you know, the importance of an I am mind map, that it can be your compass to make sure you're heading in the right way. So when
Mhm.
you know, if somebody's not matching it or some situation is
Mhm.
not in alignment with you, you know, you can lovingly disengage. Like, look,
Mhm.
you know, but we're not on the same page. You're not
No.
on my I am mind map. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. You're not on my I am my map, okay? But
Right.
I love what an amazing thing to come to at the age of 16,
Yeah.
to
Yep.
be able to find that clarity through
Yes.
this tool. But also, like I said, it requires some self-work, some honesty,
Mhm.
and some self-awareness to be
Yep.
able to get to a place to where she said, okay, this is not going to work, so I'm going to stop it now, instead of trying to force it, trying
Yeah.
to make it work when it didn't align with her intentions and goals that she set for her life.
If it's gonna end, why not end it sooner rather than later? You know.
Is yeah, exactly. Dad was like, yes, for the win.
I was like, boom, nice.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Now I think this is such a great tool. I think everything you have spoken about, your story, your journey, and just how you're continuing to use it and how you're continuing to share it with others is simply
Yes,
awesome. And I'm so glad that you
thank
came on
you.
the show to tell us about it. So now I want you to tell everyone out there how they can work with you, how they can connect to you and find you online.
Well, yeah, yeah. I'm John Diggs. I'm on all social media platforms. You find me. Some of them I'm known as John Diggs, the Mappineering Mentor. But for directly, you can go to johndiggs.com. That's I have a bunch of stuff on there. My TEDx is on there. I have a bunch of free downloadables and online mini courses and courses that I've created to really help people go through that process. And for all of those that are really excited and passionate about get going, you can always just email me directly to john@johndiggs.com, and we can schedule some time and you know, a Zoom link or something, and chat for 30-40 minutes or whatever, just to really answer your questions to see if the I am mind map is the right tool for you, or I could just share some mind mapping tools with you. If anybody's interested in that, just please email me at john@johndiggs.com, and please reference this podcast, because I definitely want to give you something special for being who you are and reaching out to me, and give you some love and support that you need to help love and live your best life. That is why I'm on this planet for the rest of my life, is to try to help people love and live their best lives.
Awesome. I love that. Well, we will drop all the links in the show notes as well. All right. So now we're going to move into three things with John. I'm going to ask you three questions that just helps our audience get to know you a little bit better. The
Nice.
first one is one that I love asking. It's, how do you start and end the day?
Ooh, I start the day. Well, I start the day in prayer and I end the day in prayer, in short. But right after my prayer, I created an audio visual process that walks me through my I am mind map. That right after I
Mhm.
pray, I put on my headphones and it's me talking to myself about being, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I'm successful, I am happy. I have a morning one that is designed to prepare me for my day. Then I have a evening recording that I listen to that's walking me through to kind of debrief and
Mhm.
complete each one of those areas, because every day I wake up, I'm focused on, my health, my wealth, success, and happiness, and what can I do to advance each one of those every day. So
Mhm.
that's definitely what I do, and that's something I also teach, in people too, in a level 3 course that I offer, just
Mhm.
showing them how to basically embody their I am mind map with daily practices like visualization and imagination exercises and things of that nature, so they can really start to be their I
Mhm.
am healthy, wealthy, successful, and happy.
Oh, I love that. All right. Number two is, what's a goal or intention that you've set for yourself this year?
I A goal and intention. Great question. I would say my biggest goal is to do 50 keynote talks this year about mind mapping and on various stages, and also do 50 workshops this year,
Okay.
because I do keynotes, that's just more talking, but I love doing workshops where I actually can do a presentation and have people actually build their I am mind
Mhm.
map throughout that workshop. So yeah, so it's do a total of 100 what I call Mappineering
Mhm.
performances, 50 keynotes, 50 workshops.
Yeah.
I've done 16 so far, but I'm just gearing up, and I got a lot of booking dates that I'm gonna get super close, if not exceed that this year.
All right.
God
I like
willing.
it.
God willing.
Yes. Amen. We'll claim that. And the third question is, where are you currently finding inspiration?
This internal journey I've been on lately, just by the road I've been traveling with being divorced after 20 something years, and been kind of this alone, being a single dad, raising
Mhm.
these girls, it caused me to really go inside of myself. And my I am mind map has helped me go inside of myself in such a way that I have this connection with this
Mhm.
inner voice,
Mhm.
that we have, that I believe is like my higher power, that I
Mhm.
connect with in my daily practices. And my inspiration comes from me feeling like I'm doing God's work.
Mhm.
How I truly believe that, I've been touched, moved, and inspired by a higher power to take this journey, kind of leave
Mhm.
and be willing to walk away from this very well six-figure paying company I got. I'm really
Mhm.
ready to let that go to fulfill this mission to try to cause
Mhm.
positive change in the world. And
Mhm.
that connection, it inspires me every day to get up and be the highest and best version of myself.
I love that. That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to ask you one last question before
Yeah.
I let you go. And it is, what are three things you would like for our audience to take away from this conversation today?
Three things. Please be open to what mind mapping can do in your life. Learn more about that tool. Secondly, I would say be aware of the power of creating your own reality. You can create the life that you want to have and love. And a mind map is the best tool to help you do that. And the last thing I would say is do that I am mind map. It would literally change your life in many ways that will help you live your best life. So realize that you can control your life and it's your responsibility, and you can realize your dreams and achieve your goals. It's up to you. Also, the second thing is that a mind map is a great tool to help you do that. And the specific mind map that you should start with is that I am mind map. Those are the three I would say.
Awesome. I love that. Some actionable tools and some insights for you all. So get to it.
I'm
This
here to
is,
help you too.
yes, this is the year. This is our year.
That's it.
2025. I said it was like, it's my, God said it was my year, and I'm just walking in that. So John is walking in it, and you all can walk in it too.
Please do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, John. You are
Thank you
always
for
welcome
having
to
me.
come back here in the future and share with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Gyrl.
Stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.